Okay.
It is heavy.
Nilikuwa namuja
Where I
jua.
watch it, Jojo, I watch him on the be my bed. The blue again deep. Oh, it is
Correct.
heavy. It is heavy.
It is very heavy. Uh, thank you, Ramoth. Thank you. It's another week. It's another Thursday that you've honored us again. And today we are moving everyone with us. They are now fellow custodians of culture and wisdom and heritage because they are together with us all the time. So uh, we welcome you and good evening, fellow custodians of culture, fellow custodians of Luo wisdom and heritage. Welcome once again to Ramogi Cultural Book Club, where we do more than just read the book Lwanda Magere. We awaken memory, restore identity, and rekindle the consciousness of who we are as a people. As our theme song that just finished said, we are the rhythm of our ancestral journey. This means our stories are not behind us, they live within us. Every proverb, every legend, every historical reflection is a drumbeat calling us back to deeper understanding. Tonight, we are honored to host once again the insightful philosopher and the guardian of the indigenous wisdom, J.K. Ramoth. Ramoth continues to guide us beyond ordinary reading into the sacred work of interpretation, where literature becomes legacy and where stories become pathways to ancestral consciousness. Through his lens, we do not merely revisit the past, we examine how our ancestral wisdom can prepare us to navigate the modern world with clarity, dignity, and rooted purpose. And that is our purpose as Ramogi Cultural Institute for Luo Heritage Research and Education, especially as we purpose it for our young people. We want them to face the future without fear. We want them to revisit the past and examine their ancestral wisdom as we prepare them to navigate this modern world where they live. But we want them to face it with clarity, dignity, and rooted purpose. They must not be in a congregation and they are told they are not worth because they come from the lake. They are not circumcised. They must rebut it by saying, we used to take off our six front teeth without painkillers. Tell me which one is more painful. The platform exists to awaken cultural pride, historical truth, intellectual liberation, and the living spirit of Ramogi within this generation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Philosopher Ramoth. Let the ancestral rhythm continue. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for coming. Please grab a cup of coffee, sit down, and relax as we welcome Ramoth. Ramoth, thank you for always taking your time. Welcome.
Erokamano, thank you so much. Uh, I am once again honored and pleased to be here to present a bit about our unique, beautiful culture through the stories, and so we can have some insight and see and get some lessons that we can use as the world revolves time uh, and time is stored. The last time, first of all, I would like to welcome you here. I'm very glad, as we always say, you would have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here, and we don't take that for granted because you are our strength, you are our motivation, and with you it all makes sense. It's a shared experience. And Luo is our business, and we are open for business 24/7, 366, 367, 368, and 369. And yeah, we take all forms of payment, cash, Bitcoin, digital money. However, the value expresses itself. So thank you so much for being here. Just as a recap, we the last chapter. I will apologize in advance. My network is the most at this moment. It is the worst, so it might log out a bit and come back in. So apologies in advance. Koro. The last chapters, Moseneno, are about the wars that have come, how the society has rallied together, the training they have gone through, and now we are going to the sixth chapter, which was the shadows of betrayal. And I will just take a sip of coffee to prepare the voice for reading as we go in. Chapter 6, the shadows of betrayal. The sun had just set, casting a golden glow over the village. The air was filled with the sounds of the evening, children laughing, women chatting as they fetched water, and the low hum of conversation in the marketplace. But beneath the surface, something was wrong. Whispers floated through the air like invisible shadows. People spoke in hushed tones, looking over their shoulders as if afraid of being overheard. These whispers carried rumors. These rumors carried distrust. In the marketplace, two women whispered as they exchanged goods. Did you hear? Someone said there was a traitor amongst us. One said with a voice barely audible. An older man, pretending to inspect a fish basket, leaned closer to catch their words. Across the way, a group of men gathered around a fire, their faces lit by the flickering flames. I heard the same, the old man said. They say someone is leaking our plans to the enemy. This conversation spread like wildfire, reaching every corner of the village. Anonymous parchment with warnings and accusations were found in unexpected places, under the way, inside baskets, and even tied to the legs of messenger birds. Each message hinted at the betrayal, but none named the culprit. The villagers grew uneasy. Trust, one of the foundations of their community, began to crumble. The warriors, who needed confidence and unity, now felt doubt and suspicion. Their morale sank. They started looking at each other with weary eyes. Luanda noticed a change. He saw the tension in the warriors' faces, heard the murmurs of distrust. He couldn't ignore the growing unease. In private, he discussed the situation with his most trusted advisors. They gathered in his hut, speaking in low voices. We need to find the source of these rumors, Luanda said. His advisors Luanda decided to investigate quietly. Luanda decided to investigate quietly. He called a few trusted warriors to listen and gather information. They moved through the town, paying close attention to conversations and looking for clues. As the days passed, the tension in the community grew. Warriors who had once fought side by side now eyed each other suspiciously. Villagers who had shared meals and stories now avoided each other. The breakdown of communication was clear. People stopped working together and cooperation became rare. Even the children sensed the unease. Their play was less joyful and more guarded. The once tight knit community felt like it was unraveling, the fabric of their unity torn by the shadows of betrayal. The impact on Luanda's leadership was significant. He found it hard to make decisions and constantly second guessing himself. The trust he had built with his warriors and villagers seemed to be slipping away. He hesitated, unsure whom to rely on. This hesitation slowed down their preparations and weakened their defenses. Key allies, once close and supportive, now seemed distant. The strain was palpable. Luanda felt the weight of the rumors pressing down on him and making every choice heavier and more complicated. Luanda knew he had to act. He couldn't let the village fall apart. He continued his subtle investigations, looking for any sign of the truth. He held more private meetings, trying to reassure his advisors and allies, but the shadows of betrayal loomed large. The whispers continued, and the sense of unease grew stronger. Once united and strong, the village stood at the brink of division. Luanda faced one of his most significant challenges yet, knowing that the future of his people depended on finding the truth and restoring trust. 6, chapter 6, subchapter 1. The poisoned chalice. One warm evening, the village gathered for a communal meal. Laughter and chatter filled the air as everyone shared stories and food. The aroma of dried fish and freshly cooked ugali wafted through the square. Luanda sat around his people, enjoying the sense of community. Plates, plates were passed around, cups were filled with sweet herbal drink called ojuri. It seemed like an ordinary gathering, a time to relax and celebrate their bond. As Luanda raised his cup to his lips, he felt a sudden, sharp pain in his stomach. His vision blurred. A cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He placed the cup down and tried to stand, but his legs felt weak. Panic spread through the crowd as they noticed Luanda's distress. Warriors rushed to his side, their faces filled with worry. The once joyful atmosphere turned tense and fearful. Something is wrong, Luanda managed to say before collapsing. The village erupted in chaos, everyone trying to understand what happened. Even in the face of such dire threat, Luanda's resilience shone through. As he lay on the ground, he fought with every fiber of his being to stay conscious. He knew he couldn't give in to the poison. His mind raced, searching for a way to survive. He summoned uh, strength to speak, instructing his friends to call for the healers. The healers arrived quickly, bringing their knowledge of herbal remedies and traditional medicine. They worked tirelessly, using herbs and charms to counteract the poison. Luanda, Luanda's friends, let me go back. I think I had dropped a bit. They worked tirelessly, using using herbs and chants to counteract the poison. Luanda's friends stayed by his side, offering words of encouragement. His struggle was both mental and physical, a testament to his unwavering determination to fight the poison's grip on his body. The investigation into the poisoning began immediately. Elders and trusted warriors gathered to question those present at the meal. They asked detailed questions, trying to piece together what had happened. The food and the drink were examined for traces of poison. Healers and wise elders, with their experienced eyes and knowledge of herbal remedies, looked for clues, determined to redeem the community's trust. As they shifted through the evidence, they discovered a strange residue in Lwanda's gap. This clue pointed them in one direction. They intensified their efforts, determined to find the culprit. The village's reaction to the poisoning was intense, a reflection of their collective determination to find the culprit and ensure justice. Fear and suspicion spread like wildfire. People looked at each other with narrowed eyes, wondering who among them could commit such a terrible act. Calls for justice echoed through the village. Elders and warriors demanded protection measures to ensure everyone's safety. The sense of urgency was palpable. The community, the community knew they needed to act quickly to prevent further harm. Londa's poisoning was a wake up call, a reminder that they needed to stay vigilant and united. They were not going to rest until the traitor was brought to light. The poisoning attempt on Luanda's life. The poisoning attempt on Luanda's life affected everyone. The once strong and confident community now grappled with fear and mistrust. Yet, even in the face of danger, their resolve to find the truth and protect each other grew more assertive. Luanda's resilience and the community's determination to uncover the traitor showed their unwavering spirit. Auda.
Yes, Ramot. Awinji maler. I've not
Gege moro.
I've
Any
not had any. No, I'll stop you. I've not had
Mhm.
any hiccup. I'm just making a few notes. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm yeah, yeah.
Let me go. If I
Okay.
drop Ingisa, can drop Ingisa, okay? I notice sometimes it
The
drops.
dropping is not actually bad. I'm monitoring it. My monitor is monitoring it, and it drops and
Good.
comes quickly. So we are still good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, chapter 6, subchapter 2, the hidden traitor. Luanda knew he had to act quickly. Village trust was hanging by a thread. He began by analyzing previous incidents. Every tiny detail was paramount. He looked at times when plans had gone wrong. He thought about who was present, what happened before things fell apart. His mind raced, piecing together the puzzle. He needed to understand the motives behind the betrayal. Was it jealousy, a grudge, or something else? As he pondered these questions, he realized he needed more information. To catch the traitor in action, Luanda set traps. He created false plans and spread them to see who would take the bait. He watched closely, observing reactions and changes in behavior. He gathered intelligence from trusted allies. They whispered in his ear, sharing what they had seen and heard. These allies crept, blending into the background. They listened to conversations and noted suspicious actions. Each piece of information brought Luanda closer to the truth. The interrogations were intense. Luanda and his trusted advisors questioned everyone present at crucial moments. They asked direct questions, looking for inconsistencies in their answers. The suspects' faces showed fear and uncertainty. Some tried to hide their nervousness, others cracked under the pressure. Unexpected sources provided crucial revelations. An old, usually silent woman spoke up about a strange, overheard conversation. A young boy playing near the river mentioned seeing someone acting suspiciously. These small details added up and painted a clearer picture. The moment of betrayal was like a punch to the gut. Luanda discovered the traitor's identity through a combination of clues and confessions. The traitor was someone he had trusted, someone close. The shock was palpable. The traitor's confession was filled with anger and pain. I felt ignored and unappreciated, he said. I wanted to prove my worth, but went too far. Their motivations were a mix of jealousy and a desire for recognition. They had just justified their actions by convincing themselves that it was for the greater good. But now, faced with the truth, they saw the damage they had caused. Luanda's strategic response was swift and decisive. He knew he had to prevent further incidents. He strengthened the security measures, implementing stricter protocols. Trusted warriors were given new roles. Trusted warriors were given new roles to ensure no one could act alone. He focused on rebuilding trust within his ranks. He held meetings, encouraging open communication. He reassured his warriors that they were stronger together. Publicly, he addressed the betrayal. He spoke to the entire village, acknowledging.
Right, GK, you are dropped. You had,
Yeah, apologies. This.
yeah, just start where you are.
Um, where did I drop? Not drop, Kure. Let me
To
know.
start from where he says he wanted to prove something after the cup has been
Okay.
found out. After the child had said he saw a strange happening. Somebody's acting suspiciously.
Oh, back
Start from,
there.
yeah.
Okay.
I think so that we catch up. Yeah.
Also, all from there, no lal, when the child. Older. Let me um I start again. Let me start here. And Rwanda's strategic response was swift and decisive. He knew he had to prevent future incidents. Aude winja? Nkeza no kawinje.
Ramotivija?
Ekora winje. Awinje
Yep. Yeah.
mabe. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Go
Hold
ahead.
on. Uh, he, I'm not so sure why it disappeared. Did I window the interrogations? The interrogations were intense. The moment of betrayal was like a punch to the gut. Or those ones? Magono winjre. Let me just continue where I was. Lwanda's strategic response was swift and decisive. He knew he had to prevent further incidents. He strength he strengthened security measures, implementing stricter protocols. Trusted warriors were given new roles to ensure no one could act alone. He focused on building trust within the ranks. He held meetings, encouraging open communication. He reassured his warriors that they were stronger together. Publicly, he addressed the betrayal. He spoke to the entire village, acknowledging the pain and mistrust. He promised to protect them and restore their faith. His words were filled with determination and sincerity. The village listened, their eyes filled with hope and uncertainty. They saw the resolve in Luanda's face and felt a flicker of trust. Slowly, the community began to heal. The bonds that had been strained started to mend. People spoke openly, sharing their fears and hopes. Luanda's actions showed them that they could move past the betrayal. The traitor's actions had caused a rift, but Luanda's response was bringing them back together. The village's unity and strength were being rebuilt one step at a time. George,
Yes.
anything?
Yeah, I think take a breather there. Take a breather there. You're dropping, but take a breather there. Yeah. DK, can you say it because you dropped? Not yet. Yeah, Nikora Mugajwang, you have to bear with us. The thing is, J.K. Ramot traveled is not in his famous, or rather, what may I say, he's not in his normal place. So wherever he is, we are having a lot of problems with the network, even communications sometimes. But because those who have read Macbeth, if there is anyone who has read Macbeth, which is one of the best of William Shakespeare, that was written in 1606. So the play Macbeth, which reflects murder and ambition. So in some place there, if you read it, it says, this even-handed justice commands the ingredients of our poisoned chalice to our own lips. We know that Shakespeare's English was very deep then. But in essence, Shakespeare used it to show that harmful actions or corrupt ambitions often return to destroy the person who initiated them. So, in modern use, poisoned chalice. Just a second, guys. I'm bringing in Ramot. I'm bringing back Ramot into the studio. Jide, he's not yet back. Sorry, guys, for this. So, as Ramot still tries to come back, we were talking. I'm talking about the modern use of the Shakespeare's um, poison chalice as he used it in Macbeth. In modern use today, it's often used in politics, leadership, business, and even risky opportunities. So, in simple terms, a poison chalice is dangerous. Is a dangerous gift or opportunity disguised as a success. Uh, and I just wanted to have a comment on this, especially to the young people and even all of us. So to the young people, because we are, as we said, our mantra is move with the young people. We don't want them left behind. It means, and working with them generally means we have to mentor them. And mentoring them generally means we have to make them understand how life operates. Because not every glittering opportunity is gold, as we all know. Some quick successes are poisoned chances, as we see in Lwanda Magere story. It could be offering a power or wealth today, but planting distractions for tomorrow. That's my warning to the young people today. Wisdom is learning to look beyond the reward and ask what price your future will pay. Because many young people are tempted by fast success. We run to the results without going through the process of reaching that result. We end up with easy money or sudden fame, but not every opportunity is a blessing. Some are poisoned chalices, appearing attractive on the surface while hiding consequences that can damage character, purpose, or even future stability. So to our young people, using Lwanda Magere is that small piece there. And if you followed through the subtopic Poisoned Charles, as the story unfolds, you will realize that true wisdom is not in chasing every open door, but in discerning whether that door leads to growth or destruction. Because what looks like success today can become regret tomorrow if it costs your values, peace, and destiny. I felt it was very important, Ramoth. Are you back? Ramoth, can you hear me?
Anka, Auntie.
Yes.
Iwinja.
Yeah,
Okay.
so Ramoth, I just picked on the poison. Awinji Malaya. Iwinja.
Maclear.
And Awinji Malaya. I picked that the small subtopic, poisoned Charles, because I wanted to us to talk about it. We always do with the current and modern world, where mostly people style. People don't sell the process. We fall for the lifestyle. We fall for people who claim to have gained a lot of wealth through online, sometimes online sales of what we don't even know and all that. They pose through, because we have to talk around about these things. They pose with pictures, they pose with big cars, they pose with big houses, and they claim to our young people it is because of possible business online that they are doing. But in essence, it might not be true. So that's why I'm concerned with that. And I'm thinking, Luanda, this thing started a long time ago, Ramoth. It started with the times of Luanda Magere, poisoned Charles. That is what I was talking about.
So,
Ramoth,
George ni God jo. Ni God jo. Ni God.
yeah.
Ni God.
Yeah,
God ndiye amepatia
Nigodjo.
na hiyo. Ni God jo.
Nigodjo, umepataje Nigodjo? And we hear of these very, what do we call them? There is this term, stories ajaba. Somebody says he started biashara. He has got trucks of collecting rubbish and all that in town. Then they tell you I started with a leaf of banana. Somebody says they started chicken business with an egg. Those are lifestyles we're being sold. It's not the process. You look for the process. How did it happen? Each and every success has a process of failure. If somebody sells you a successful business that has got totally no subtopic on failure, that is a I want to ask what I was understanding, Mano and paying you, man. So, Ramoth, there are processes that were followed, especially when the poison took effect. And we realized that Luanda Magere was still very strong, even though he was down and weak, but he still gained the energy to direct his fellow warriors and the community on what to do. Call the healers and wise elders quickly. And what was used? Herbal remedy. And then there is something called ojuri. To those who don't know what ojuri is, Ramoth, can you highlight on that and connect it with healers and wise elders? Tantamount, or if we bring it forward now, who would we call? We would be rushing, call Dr. So-and-so, call Dr. So-and-so, call the nurses and call them. Just briefly, talk, what is ojuri? Is there a process? Can you talk of the process, how it's made, or and generally around it, and then connect it to the healers and wise elders and herbal remedy? Just that part quickly, and then yeah, we can go. Yes.
From the beginning, of my upbringing and stuff, I knew jury in its form, a very bitter bile type of drink, very very nasty. Because we were drinking it, but I never saw it made. I never really saw it made. My grandmother and my Tanwakod, their generation, they knew how to do it. I know it was from the bile of the animal, and that is how far that is how far I came to know about it. And then after that, it was this city life and Gikumoko Kamagi, and that does not really have it so much. So I would really like to ask the Dungananga next time to tell us how it has been made over time and if there's been change to it, because I'm sure he has seen it in all its phases, being that he is the age he is. So next time Kawan called, we have to make sure we ask him about this particular bitter bile. But I remember it was from the bile duct.
It's the yes, and also a bit of
It's from the
loose
bile duct.
stool, and fresh loose stool
Mm-hmm.
that comes from
Mm-hmm.
the intestines of a cow. But
Yeah.
one thing that our people right now need to know how it used to happen. That jury, they used to eat both raw meat with it and also ready meat. But you would
Mm-hmm.
find somebody cutting a small piece of raw meat and dipping it in that jury, and so nicely. Yeah, it used
Mm-hmm.
to happen that way.
And, and it becomes really interesting. For us, it was really nasty. But even Johnny, now they're talking more about it. You need a balanced diet, Kamano. Not a balanced diet in terms of the food. You actually the sugar that more consume turns into fat. The body turns it into fat to store the sugar. To go actually even the bitters, the bitter herbs, the bitter mbogas, the bitter bile, and those type of bitter foods, and are really good to regulate that, so that you're not so acidic. Because the bitter a lot more bitter give me a tobedo balance, especially jarateng, because being and melanin, there's a little difference or some difference in how his body interacts with the environment. So only that pH balance. Because on these type of foods are really good for gelatin. Kind of Kinelo Europe, there was more fermented food. They had more fermented food. like really a lot of fermented food. Kata the bread manegi chamo is not really the bread masani. Neobedo fermented and it had the same effect. Kata, if you look at, they say that if you look at Kirango Africans and Europeans in terms of consumption of alcohol, body is more adjusted to alcohol than ours because of how they were making it, brewing, and the type of alcohol manegi make. It ginyalo made for a bit, kata kibet kodgi, and you realize ochal juice for some time. So the body is really adapted to that. The one, yes, now we drink, but no can give manotimo every time. It is not something manotimo every time. And we do not have winter seasons. Makoro, we do not need the alcohol to be the warmer. Yeah, so this type of um, changes more birosani that have come now because we are now globalized and it is easier to produce and easier to produce these things in mass. So they have to create a market. Okay, if you're overproducing, you have to have a market to consume it. So people's tastes change as a result of you are producing, and it has to go somewhere. In the Akiaka Duoki, the whole point about the jury, I know it is the bile. This one I know it was the bile of the animal because I saw a bit of this, but the way to
Yeah,
make it like an
I
expert.
think we generally know it
Mm,
very well, but
mm,
yes, the process. I think the process
mm,
of how it was made will will clarify for us.
mm.
Yeah. Okay. And if
Kata the
there is,
listeners.
like you've said, if or if
Mm. Kata the
yeah,
listeners.
yeah.
Kata the listeners. Nti joma who who are around who have seen this. Not everybody grew up in the city Kakawan. So gibe ginyalo wacho. Ginyalo contribute to this and tell us
Yes,
a bit about what they saw and
correct.
eno jury. Eno jury. Um mm. I understand the question. Okay, okay. Malongo no churi. Eh.
Okay.
Donge George,
I
depending
think
on
now,
kuma.
now yes, correct. It depends on which part of Nyanza now we are
Mm,
coming from. Ka
mm,
ka in piwa duo kaka jo Kenya sia alego to en ujuri. To ka in
mm,
jamwa kaka kela to en uchuri. But
mm.
that's just a banter, guys. We found this language already developed in the kaka ne jaduong wacho cha. So whether in uchuri or juri, we know what we are talking about. Hello, come on.
Uh, and in the story, again, apologies for the network. I know it's beyond Gemanyalo team, but in the story, I would say part of the story as a continuum, not as chapters, individual chapters. It is a journey and a whole journey of the individual, the identity formation process, the character formation process, and this. And give me notice so far. Well, we have there's always the interaction between Luanda and the society. Or get time, me when Luanda is good and the society is in trouble. There is none. Always when the society is facing something, he is also not okay. Um, this I find a very a very important point in the African context. Okay, so um, in the African context, we create the individual by having the group. So when he's the individual, He knows he's an individual because the group is there and is made up of many different types of people.
Mhm.
But the individual by themselves is madness. Just the individual, I create myself and I do what I want because I'm me, myself, and there's nothing. This is the beginning of these psychological issues we are having.
Mhm.
Okay, man is has to you know the end of you because of the other people. You know you like this and don't like that because other people also like that. It is
Mhm.
a shared. It is like a shared computing system and a shared computing system. It always leaves us in trouble. And when we are in on the concepts kaka Ubuntu, it takes a village and all these type of things.
Correct. That's what I wanted to mention. Ubuntu.
Mm,
I have
mm,
because
yes. So it is okay now. Um, these concepts are not just simple. Like Luo is deep, but Luo also is in the context of Africa. Luo is not in the context of Luo itself and floating. Luo has Obedo developed and has grown in the context of in the context of Africa. So that is Mano and important to remember. Only so many clues. So the interesting thing in this story, you remember the last point before the war, Luanda was going through the internal creation process. Like he was going through the identity formation process. Mondo biobed Luanda now. Majogi but the community gedo iwi maginyalo gere gimoro. And you see, ineno nyinge no and very active in the story. They depend on him. Gigedo kuom nyinge no. So the identity formation process mare has to be really like a bit stable. Like a bit very stable. So ineno form this identity, then jogo nyalo depend on it. That's why for the first point of the story, it's very interesting that the betrayer is not mentioned. The first half of this, you just hear the whole thing he did. Ingisimo, his mental processes, other than saying, okay, it was the devil or whoever. So then and more a process of how he's looking at things and looking at the environment than looking for who to blame. And in the end, Biro Kanyoto Yudo, since he knows his purpose, he knows his identity and what it does to the community. He doesn't take the blame party, he takes the society and starts rebuilding. Kendo gere kendo. Because you keep seeing that even the society, as much as it exists, its trust and its togetherness and its unity have to be rebuilt consistently. Have to be rebuilt, has to be rebuilt, has to be rebuilt. And somebody has nyaka people who take the job of rebuilding it. Majority of times, we Jogan, our people expect it just to happen. You expect it happens. To kiwinjo to mar the Luo anthem, Mr. Top. Rajoga come on, there's this part how the Luo is. There's this description of who he is. So through the identification, Kikalo, the identification process, you know, it is very dynamic and very interesting. So he becomes somebody that the society can depend on because as the society grows, as the society experiences what it experiences, Luanda grows. As the society goes through challenges, Luanda grows. Or could grow for himself in a bubble that is just growing, and then because he has these aims, and these things. So the society really affects your mental health and your your mental balance. Makata, when the problems come, you see, there's been consistently problems, problems. So his identity keeps evolving through the problems because of where it was positioned at the beginning. And the
Ramot,
people want.
Ramot,
Mm, mm.
these kindly touch on quickly, just quickly and shortly, why it's important that the betrayer was not named.
Because of Kimawa Chano, because of how his identity has been formed. It is a problem solving identity. That is the issue. That is what I'm trying to say. It is a problem solving identity. Identity is not the same. Remember, I was talking about individualism at the beginning. With that
Mhm.
orientation, it's not most of the time it's about somebody and what he wants, not the growth process of getting to there. Mani, to relate back to what you're saying is you have these things and you want them because you've seen them and they've been advertised to you, especially now, and then your identity becomes that, and it has no reflection on the society. So it is not a growing identity; it is a manufactured identity. It
Mhm.
is a manufactured. So if it is a manufactured identity, it does it. There's no development that can come from it. It is upon the person manufacturing it to decide if he will upgrade it or not.
Mhm.
That is why the traitor is not mentioned. He is not important. It is how we will overcome this betrayal and the society will overcome this betrayal. Because there will be many of them even in the future. There will be many betrayers in the future. Even as low as a society, there will be many betrayers in the future. This is a constant. It is like rain. It is like rain. Okay, there's no time we've read this Luanda where it is just the village is at peace and everybody is happy and drinking and eating. Their unity is always tested. Their their systems are always tested. Their trust for each other is always tested. It is always tested. So Manema bring out a more resilient individuals, bring more resilient community. There are more resilient community, bring more resilient individuals. That's why it was not important because we've been going with him through the journey. We've seen how he was trained, the challenges he's done. So it's more focusing on now. Okay, this is how it executes. This is how this identity, One Luanda, this is how it executes in the face of different challenges. Njegi Moro Judge.
No, actually, it watch because I wanted actually to understand. I know for me and also for the listener, most of the listeners, I think we are always very quick, and especially some people in the community are always very quick to say ngane moti mugini ngane. There are gossipers who are always very quick. But what I'm trying to think is that the community was so united that once a decision had been taken, then nobody would go against it, because even as much as uh, it was Rwanda himself and possibly the elders would have known that that's the African concept of doing things. We are going to decide, are we going to build on the weakness or strength that we can pick up again and rebuild this? So you've explained it. It wasn't important and remember also the stories by saying that the trust that had been built for a long time cracked when this betrayal happened. So I think for me, I'm thinking Luanda and the elders and even other warriors are more concerned with rebuilding the trust than wasting time on who did it, why did you do it, and all that, because that would waste more time and the cohesion might be very difficult to. Am I right to say that to gain it?
Mm. Lal Martin, but just the last part. Merchant, is it right to say what? Just
Yeah,
tell me
no,
the.
I'm saying the
Mm-hmm.
elders in just to tap it up, the elders and Luanda Magere himself, and possibly the wise, the healers and the wise ones might have decided that the trust that had been built over the years has been betrayed. So the trust might go down the drain. So we either decide to build on what is going to bring back the trust, or we dwell on who did it, why they did it, and then we lose the whole Ubuntu thing, because like you've mentioned, that was also a tactic of rebuilding. You don't need to. It was not important to dwell on who did it, to be named and all that. But I think also that one might have also brought more division, because now imagine it's one of your family members that is mentioned to. People will not want you even around them and all that. It might have jeopardized the whole scenario. Am I right to say that?
Mm, especially Pokwa Chopo, there's a trial about it. There's a trial, so we see how the community.
Oh, awesome.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
that's why I stopped here. I want us to look at Luanda, because one thing I really see from Luanda Magere, the name is just skipped over. The name, okay? They take the name as John Owiti or John Onyango or Frederick Obiero. They just take it as a name. And you remember, in this time, the name was the key. The name was the lock. It was then part of there was part of the plan. So in 2026, 2027, 2028, 2058, 2098, Jomabo Bedo Luanda Migedo Iwigi. Because there has to be men who are Migedo Iwigi. For the society to have stability. There has to be people who this child come, who have the legs and they can sustain the weight. The magic of this story,
Mm,
and it shows you how these people are made, how they think, how they look at life, and even look at the betrayal. Look at how he's collecting information and what he's doing with the information and the systems he's using to process
mm,
the information. And when he's poisoned, the systems that are there to safeguard and look after him. He's already on his way out, he's dying.
mm,
That's why I keep saying, Kinenoma, you see why his death is very important at the back. It brings to
mm,
question why, in such a society, why does this death occur? Living there, it was a natural death, like he died in his sleep, or he was he was old and he died when he was old and such. But Luanda Magere, from what we hear, he dies pretty young. From what we know, how we know it, we're never really
mm,
told certain age. We're just in Miwajas, he was young, and even the pictures is young, and that is all it is. So, Mane Emotemo focus on it at this juncture. Um, how does it look at life? So related to Gigi Mani Wachacha, you were saying they advertise to you this image, this identity. It consumes, it lives like this, it wants this and that. But no, like you're saying, nobody takes you through the how it is done, how it is made, how it is produced, and does it have if the person wants these things, because that's what you see from the traitor. It's a very interesting juxtaposition. The traitor, he felt ignored and he wanted recognition. It is as if we worry about the people we see on social media every day. Anything for recognition. It really doesn't matter so much. As long as I'm recognized and I'm put in this category, I'm this, I'm rich, I'm whatever. But then about the recognition. So you see, that's why it's very interesting this juxtaposition, because it's like, and what about when, like we were saying the last time, What about when you are betraying yourself? What about when you are betraying yourself and you're betraying the mission that you are brought to do and the vision that you have? Where is the traitor then? Oh, the nene. Where is the traitor then when you're betraying yourself? When you know from experience this does not go like this, but you want to do it like this. Who will you blame for this? What do you blame at that time? Where's the traitor? Where's the traitor at that time? Because it is you betraying you. That's what I was saying. It is
Yes, and
magical that there's nothing. Mm. And that judge.
so I think when you ask that, who do you, yeah, when you ask that, when you betray, when you do that betrayal, you are actually betraying yourself in the concept of, we talk the Ubuntu concept. But I think Luanda's response to all this is quite profound. He finds strength by not merely defeating enemies, but preventing fame. I mean, pain from destroying one's humanity. His own pain. Remember, Luanda is the one who was poisoned as a person, an individual. But he rises above that. He's more concerned with the community than himself. So his response to me is quite profound on all these things as it happens, Ramon. He has got strength. He has strength, but with compassion. He's like, he doesn't want to destroy this betrayer because the community must rise up again. And who is going to make the community rise up? I must get out of this trouble with more strength. And I know through that, we must survive through interconnectedness. So our betrayer we must not allow him to bring us down as a community. I think that is Rwanda's response as I look at it.
Mm. And
To all the,
just to escalate it.
mm.
Who will the society blame when the society is betraying itself?
For me, they must betray them. They must blame themselves. Something is
Mm.
wrong somewhere.
Mm. So if they're betraying themselves, let's say like you take an example of Kenya, some of the things we do are just anti anti our own development. Completely, it's anti our own development. But we would not go through the suffering. We would rather patch the hole very quickly. So in such a case, who will the society blame? Where will the traitor be? Where will the traitor be? Because individual psychology is is a reflection of the group psychology. This is why I keep insisting on this society thing. Okay, we really don't look at it like this. We really don't look at it that I'm a reflection of my society.
Mm.
Mm. We have bought this thing of individual that you're uniquely yourself. But you have to be uniquely yourself in a community so that we can say you are George, you're Uda, and you're not Ramat.
Yeah, and Ramoth, as you mentioned that, you prick a thinking in me. And if we bring this the art that we're talking about to modern relevance, especially for us and for the young people, as it regards leadership, as we being taught by Luanda Magere. So I would tell ourselves that today friendships can break, communities can divide in every way, politically or otherwise. And for our young people, digital culture amplifies public shaming. We have to be aware of that. But the Ubuntu that the Luanda Mageres of this world believe in, and that's how he didn't want, he decided not to rise above what was happening to him individually. He had to rebuild wisely. That is what Ubuntu teaches. And he had to forgive strategically. Mark the forgiving strategically. Because you told me there is a trial. So at this particular moment, there was forgiveness, but it was a strategic forgiveness. I don't know what happens in the trial. I don't know how it ends there. But now I'm thinking Luanda Magere forgave at that particular moment, just strategically. And then he to preserve humanity without abandoning discernment. So his community was very important for him as at that particular moment. So he's like, let's forgive, but very strategically.
Judge, I do push it a bit,
Yes, please.
maybe a bit technical, because I'm really wary of terms like Ubuntu. I'm really wary a bit. Nikech, when the people who have put Africa in its present state, using our how we think about ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
start mentioning your words, something has been changed,
Mm.
because he uses words to dominate. The first thing they use to dominate is words. I was seeing somebody break down something about South Africa, and they were saying, okay, South Africans were taught the European is on top, or the Eurasian is on top,
The Indian next.
then the Indian next, then the Coloureds, then the South Africans, then the Africans.
They're number 4,
Yeah. So anything that is above
which
him, he
is
can praise.
which is very which is which is very true, Ramon, because South Africans, they call themselves South Africans, but they call
Mm.
everybody else Africans.
Mhm. So it was really calculated. So in their mentality, the way it was taught to them is, so being a South African is better than being an African. So if these same people are the ones who are talking about Ubuntu, I have to be wary, because maybe they are not talking about me as an African, they're talking about just that group of theirs in the hierarchy. So I want to uh, one of the things why culture is important, why why it is Gimomi and paramount for many of Jowa to turn back on culture and grab onto other things, the geopolitics and all this. It's very important for this to happen. Nikech, uh, ntie a topic in somebody wrote mentioning culture and power. One of the most important contexts in which the alignment of individuals and groups is utilized to generate and exercise social power is that of culture. A culture is a type of power system which includes all its members and the various groups and institutions which constitute it. A society or a culture as a power system may be subdivided into smaller and smaller power systems nested within, or originally related to one another. The overall power of culture or society operationally emerges from these smaller power types of social and institutional organizations. That is why culture is important. That is why it has to be all the so-called uh, uh, advanced have to leave culture behind.
Mm.
It is a type of power system. That's why they have to tell you it is traditions and dances.
Mm.
Hmm. You confuse it. Emami Achan, if you look at Ubuntu, you see this character. Where it is not, when people are saying culture, you know. So even if you say digital culture, what are you really talking about? Digit, digitization is not a power system. So that's what I mean. We use these words and we think we are thinking. We really think we are thinking. But we are operating. The other day we were talking about operational skills. We are operating. We are not really. My mommy, or the Luanda story for me is
We are
interesting.
making the same mistake of conforming to the system.
Yeah, because remember, it dominates you using words. Words. The same thing, my ibet is school and everywhere, and you're learning. Those are the tools for taking you over and guiding you into whatever they want. Even the identities, man, no worry about rich, prosperous, successful, and this, and then gear attach an image to it. It's just a word. Successful is a word. Before it becomes a reality and a word. So then they define what success means. You live like this, the way we are projecting on social media. But it is totally deeper than Katakaka Giwacho Ubuntu, because Ubuntu is just networking. Is a group of people that do or behave together. But Mangisin, there's a real essence to the culture, and there's a way it is used as a system that generates power,
Mhm.
meaning more power to do, power to create. Think of it as a battery. And when you now, if you look at this story, it's interesting. It's showing you these layers.
Correct.
What is when the betrayal comes? What is he using? What are his systems? He collects information. You start seeing the scientific process. He collects information, then he analyzes the information, then he checks with his trusted advisors to see if the information is true, or you do feedback, the feedback loop. Okobed Kanya, and he just thinks for himself and says, okay, then I'm right because I'm Luanda and I know all these things and I've solved all these problems before in the past, so I must be the bomb. He's always using these problems as a society is using as kaka a way to feel the problems, feel the things that the society is going through, and very adaptive. Luanda is very adaptive to problems, very, very, very much. George Semi Jokawacho, it comes a time when the culture is the hero.
So many
It comes
times.
at where the culture becomes the hero. It is not about a
Mm.
specific individual.
Mm.
Europeans understand this. Other cultures understand this. Mostly in Africa, it's about the individual. Like when we're talking about Luanda, even the name tells you what we're talking about, but you're looking at him as an individual. So when the culture starts making mistakes, no, as the hero, when the culture is not aware and it is betraying itself, it is totally not aware this is happening. Because it's not looking at itself
Mhm.
like, okay, the story is about it's a story about a culture. It's not just about an individual. An individual is the best. That is what Mane Manatemo at the beginning. An individual is there because of the culture. He's the best. He's the package of the culture. He's the culture manifest. Just like I give an example, a Christian is Christianity manifest. So long as you don't look at my actions, look at the Bible and all these things, but he's the manifestation of this whole thought, this whole system, this whole grid. Shamana is the interesting bit about it. So at least Kawoni Minjo, why it is very important. Those definitions, culture, heritage, um, traditions. Because here he did not talk about Kowe about as a power system. He did not talk about traditions and beliefs, and he just talked about how it is structured and kako operate. How it is structured and how operate, both
Mm.
into even the smaller units. Not about this is what they did. That is not how the power is developed. That's why it is important when the Jogio Wegini, you go concentrate on some other things that will never give power, even to the society. It's just slogans and ideas, and they keep going. And to go again, Nikwade. Why you are the young again? Good all. Twade. Nyakaching mo boyang.
Iparona, Ramoth, as you speak, Iparona, one of the speeches that was made by the greatest Steve Biko. Steve Biko once said, "Ni because she has of attractive language, slogans, or promises that sound empowering but are designed to keep real power in the hands of the oppressor." History shows that control is often maintained not only through force, but through carefully crafted words that disguise exploitation as opportunity, dependence as freedom, or submission as progress. Then he ended by telling the young people of his time, the members of Black conscience, that young people must learn to question who benefits, who controls the system, if it is offered truly brings liberation or liberation, or simply repackages oppression in. That was Steve Biko speaking to a
Biko,
Congress a year before he died.
Biko, Biko was one of those people who is not celebrated enough. Brilliant. And tell you, that is one of the people who should have a national holiday in the whole of Africa. Extraordinarily brilliant.
Hmm.
Very perceptive. These are the characters more actually. If you look at this Londa Magere story, it's trying to show you people who are looking at. They see the issue, not just the issue. The issue is not just the oppressor. Only thing, this is how the system is working. This is how this thing is affecting the society. One of those very brilliant people. Very to the point. Well, to the point. Even in the movie Marema Denzel acted.
Hmm. Cry freedom.
But yeah, when he's talking to the judge, that is
Yes.
the. I watched it when I was young, and that was that what he said
He's stuck with me to date.
up to today. The way he answered this question.
We are not in confrontation. You call it confrontation. We are not. We can confront each other, but it doesn't mean we need to fight. You're fighting me in my land. All we are asking for is freedom, true freedom, not sugar coated freedom.
It was interesting. That, that,
Very-
that, that, that. Mano is one of those movies on that list of must watch movies. Mano must that one must be watched. I won't get so much action as things blowing up and all this, and the aeroplanes blowing up. This Hollywood junk food, but it's one of those movies, one of those documentaries rather. Brilliant, brilliant,
It's called Cry Freedom for
mm,
whoever is casting. What is it?
brilliant.
Called Cry Freedom.
Mm. And
Then
that
the whole,
generation,
yeah.
the understanding of Africa and its position, and we, in Kata N, when we were talking about the hierarchy that is in South Africa, and it exists in Kenya too, just very a bit different. It's just some tribes think now between the African and the Indian and the colored, Mapointi. They think there's a bit of there's a tribal hierarchy. So it makes them feel good that there's a tribal hierarchy. But it doesn't matter. Tribal hierarchy does not matter if you're enslaved. It doesn't matter. It's another illusion. Kakirena, what is happening in South Africa is another illusion that the systems at the top can always use to play this. You can always use to disrupt this. No, can use to disrupt this. So that is one of those brilliant things. And again, to me, this is why this story is very interesting. It's very profound in that, okay, first, before you start looking for the traitor. Just say the traitor is a constant. But you, are you the traitor? Samimanye Wokocha, are you the traitor? Are you him? Because you might be him. And they're thinking you're not him. But you're him. And you're the one putting the society under some very funny terms. But you think you're taking them forward. And that's why Biko is amazing. And one of those days, George, if we get a chance, we should just when I go and read the book. I write because I want. Mm,
Yeah.
I write because I want. So Gimoro Kendo. Telo Gimoro Mido Medo.
No, as at this juncture, no. Can you want to read chapter 6? Is it you call the subtitles?
No, Podi.
Okay. Apparently, if we can add, we are at 21, 30, 21, 34. That is 22, 34. I don't know. What made another 20 minutes or what of read?
On the kele to where
Yes, well,
mm,
a conclusion, then we can pick it up from
mm,
next time. Yeah.
I don't think I will totally conclude it, Nikech. I would really want and it would be interesting, not I would want, it would be interesting for that point of looking at you looking at yourself at the problem as you look at the problem. You looking at yourself as you look at the problem. As Kaka-Lwanda is poisoned, but he's looking at himself as he's looking at the problem to find the issue.
Mhm.
The next one is the trial 6 verse 3, sub chapter 3, not verse 3. What is Biblos? The trial of loyalty. The village was buzzing with tension. Accusations were flying, and doubts about Luanda's loyalty hung like a dark cloud. The people whispered among themselves, questioning his integrity. The Council of Elders decided to hold a trial to settle the matter. This would determine Luanda's future. The stakes were incredibly high. If he failed, his reputation and leadership position would be shattered. The elders gathered in a circle and their faces turned. The rules were clear. Luanda had to prove his loyalty beyond any doubt. The trial would be fair but strict. Luanda stood before the elders. His heart was heavy, but his resolve strong. He began his defense by calling upon trusted allies and community members to speak on his behalf. Juma, his closest friend, stepped forward. I have known Luanda since we were children, Juma said. He has always acted with honor and bravery. Other villagers echoed Juma's words. They spoke of times when Luanda had risked his life to protect them. They recounted his many sacrifices and the countless battles he had fought to keep the village safe. Each testimony built a stronger case for his innocence. Luanda then presented evidence of his past deeds. He reminded the elders of the battle he had led and the victories he had secured. He spoke of the nights he had spent guarding the village while others slept. I have always put the needs of our people first, he said. The elders listened intently. They saw the sincerity in his eyes. Luanda's words were not just empty claims. They were backed by a lifetime of actions that spoke of his dedication and loyalty. The community's support for Luanda was overwhelming. People gathered outside the council hall, holding torches and chanting his name. Their faces were filled with determination and hope. They wanted to show the elders that they stood with Luanda. Emotion, emotion said, Luanda, George Nalal.
Ilalkar emotions, kind.
Okay. Luanda then presented evidence of his past deeds. He reminded the elders of the battles he had led and the victories he had secured. He spoke of the nights he had spent guarding the village while others slept. I have always put the needs of our people first, he said. The elders listened intently. They saw the sincerity in his eyes. Luanda's words were not just empty claims, they were backed by a lifetime of actions that spoke of his dedication and loyalty. The community support for Luanda was overwhelming. People gathered outside the council halls, holding torches and chanting his name. Their faces were filled with determination and hope. They wanted to show the elders that they stood with Luanda. Emotional speeches were made by those who believed in him. An elderly woman's voice cracked, voice cracking with emotion said, Luanda saved my grandson from a lion. He is our protector. These demonstrations of support swayed the atmosphere in the hall. The elders could see that Luanda was not alone. His people believed in him. After hours of deliberation, the council reached their verdict. The head elder stood and his face solemn but kind. Luanda Magere, he began, we have weighed the evidence and listened to the testimonies, and we find you loyal and true to our people. Relief washed over Luanda. The elders explained their reasoning. They saw no evidence of betrayal, only a lifetime of service and sacrifice. The community erupted in cheers. Tyler, Iwinja, Iwinja Tyler, because muted.
Ramoth, you dropped, so I was actually bringing you back from the backstage, so I can hear you very well. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me read the last part.
Yes.
Winjo,
Yes.
where he was exonerated.
Yes. Yes.
We find you loyal and true to your people. Relief washed over Luanda. The elders explained their reasoning. They saw no evidence of betrayal, only a lifetime of service and sacrifice. The community erupted in cheers. Luanda's reputation was restored. Trust was renewed, and the village felt a profound unity and loyalty. Luanda's leadership was more vital than ever. So, Pokatieko, that chapter, we will finish next time. Okay, these network issues are too much. These network issues are too much. But, George, this is what you were asking before.
Given time that we
Hmm?
can analyze that, and then yeah, we analyze that,
Yeah,
then we could continue reading
this is
next
what
week.
you were
But to
asking.
analyze that, yes.
You were asking before because of the decision he made. What was the repercussions of the decisions he made? Because he did not reveal the traitor, he dealt with him. But the village is still wondering who the traitor is. Is it him? Did he poison himself? You see, George, that's why he's on trial.
Yeah.
Is he still
Yes.
loyal? Mm.
But
Mm.
I'm failing to understand why somebody would think he would poison himself. Is he? afraid of carrying the family? Is he tired of carrying the whole community's burden, or what? What would be the intention, the intent? What the law calls intent?
Still, still, we are on his internal mechanisms, his decision making, because now he has just dealt with the betrayal,
Correct.
but the community had a betrayal problem also.
Mhm.
That does not mean since he has dealt with this on a personal level and who poisoned him, it has not
The
dissipated the
problem is finished.
yes. This is why I was talking about the Ubuntu idea. If it is just simple, if it is just simple that you belong in a community, the way we have been taught now, the way it has been changed, you belong to a society and everything you do for the society is just good. They will perceive it as good. It's a very tricky way. If the betrayer is you're betraying yourself. Some of the concepts you have about even the community are false.
Correct.
Mm. And then when the society is questioning this, it is very easy to turn against them and be like, these people are the worst, they don't love each other, they don't work together, and all these things. So Obedo totally, in this case, it would have been easy to blame the society because he's done so much. And Kai is a very profound lesson for the future Luandas. For the future Luandas. As shown by your perception has to be really clear. Because sometimes the society is with you, but their perception is not as clear. And a very delicate balancing act. See, sometimes you're seeing the
Mhm.
thing that is coming before them, and they are just, them, they don't care. They're in today. They think everything should go the way it has been going, because that is how the world is supposed to operate. And sometimes dangers moko biro, and they're trying to warn, okay, these are coming, but then they are like, it's you who is betraying us now. You are supposed to be, are you still loyal? Are you still, no. So at those times, what do you do? At those times, what do you do? Because still, naka, in Migedo, to ancestors, Tiyoko Digedo, to Gigedo Kuomi, and then
Mhm.
the society itself is like, this one has betrayed us. So all the warnings
Mhm.
that were coming and the problems that the society was facing, them, they're like, this is nonsense. This is nonsense. And then at that point, Michu Nkanyo, what becomes the stability? What becomes the anchor? Because now the society that you use as a grid, as a GPS system,
Mhm.
has completely turned. The Emma Guinea was Emma Minacho, the name, in the name is so much. In the name is so much. In the name is so much. Mm. Okay, these are in the journey. These are situations you will face if you're really Jagedo. Okay, Jomagera, Jamagedo, Jamagere. People face these situations where the decision is you've been doing for the good of the whole group, but now the Giriek, they put you on trials. Like at the elders, can you do a test in the real deal? And at that time, using the same format, you start mentioning things that you've done. Does
Mhm.
not always work. They're in a state of disloyalty. It doesn't matter now what you did for us in the past. We're talking about today.
Mhm.
Mm. We're talking about now.
It is
Yes.
what you finish that counts, not what you start.
Yeah. And it's a very
Because
profound lesson here, Kanye. Very profound.
because the thing is, we know of the comrades of PL Patrice Lumumba. They are the people who
Mm.
betrayed the guy. We know that the trusted friends of Kwame Nkrumah. They're the people
Sankara
who.
too.
So you can't count
Mm,
to modern day. Mugabe
mm,
started as a hero. Mugabe finished with his
mm, mm,
so it doesn't matter the freedom.
mm,
The English is while fighting for freedom and all that because he clung into power too much until he was 93. He couldn't do anything. And then he leaves Zimbabwe without even its own currency. As Zimbabwe uses American rands and US dollars, a country that was the breadbasket of Africa. So, how do you judge somebody like Mugabe? Do you judge him with what he did in the past and say, oh, it was like all what he finished, and then he leaves the country the way he left it? So, I think that's the lesson, part of what
um,
I would yeah.
um, and interesting you bring the Mugabe issue because the Mugabe issue is like this issue we are looking at. It's complex, but it is beautiful. Okay, at the beginning, he actually did great things. And at the beginning, this is a person who was being given prizes by the queen at the beginning.
Yes.
While Biko was rotting in prison, this one is getting prizes and knighthood and stuff. The moment he became the devil is when he rebelled against the queen. That's why his problem started. And
When he told Tony Blair, you can keep your England, I will keep my Zimbabwe.
mm, that is, Nikech, it shows he could not. Zimbabwe, it cannot have its own currency because it's not a sovereign country.
But even Lesotho has its own currency.
Yeah, but Lesotho, even these places are not sovereign. They are independent. They are independent. Remember words? You might know much about words. Okay. What team experiment? Independent could mean you're free. You do by yourself. But it could also mean you're in space dependence. You're in a state of dependence. You depend on someone else for everything. So you could have your own currency, but the people who print your currency is not you. That is the reality in very many African countries. You
None
could have
of
your passport.
them print. None of them.
Yes, you could have your passport, but really is in their government printers. But really, the people who determine which type of passport, whether it's biometric, is not Kenyan. So the words, the words, the words, the words. Because you see, even here, Luanda is being judged not on actions but words. Is he loyal? Is he still loyal? It's not, oh, he did not do this thing yesterday and saved us. No, no, no. It's in terms of concept. Is he still loyal? Can he still be trusted? Is he doing it for personal gain or for. See? One need that world of words. And you see, in Enoka, majority of society coach up with that level, it becomes difficult. This is why I was saying it is easier to give them politics. Because whether manner is not something that needs you to. You don't have to do anything to discuss politics. You just have to discuss. You just need a space, and then everybody shows the opinion. But the harder thing, okay, give an example. Okay, they might think I'm bashing, not they might think, but it seems like it's bashing politics. So the harder thing is this. Again, Luanda Magere. If you have an idea of how the thing works and what should be done, let's say it's even a half an idea, and then you take this idea and then you see who is closest to operating something like this. But you have to really think about it and really gather what Rwanda was doing. You look at it at that traitor system and is a traitor, and you have to solve this issue of the traitor, and you do this, and you come up with your like a plan, like a system, a plan, something that could be done. to make Kenya better, for example. And then you discuss and judge the people who are presenting themselves for candidacy using your plan. It doesn't have to be perfect because when you meet the guy and he starts talking, you could see where your plan has a problem. This is the more difficult thing, but this is not the thing that is done. This would bring more fruit in terms of politics, but it is not the way we go. Mm. So that's what I'm saying. It does not need um, anything. You just have to have a space, and then you open your mouth and say whatever you want, and that's politics. This guy is good. This guy is bad. There's no why is he bad. I think personally it's bad because I have this idea of how this thing should work, and this is how we would benefit. The way I think about it, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is how I think about it, and this is how I think it should come about. I might be wrong, but it's not on ideas and concepts and ways out. It's the reaction to what somebody said on a podium and this type of thing. So you see, the community is also going with this, and so it is interesting. I'd really like to see what happens after this because the community is cheering him. They have placards. It's even like a political rally when he's Samain again. Yes, they have placards. They have people who are for him. They have advocates and people who have known him since he was young and he's been doing development in the society and he's been working with NGOs and all these things. It's the same thing Rwanda is going through. So it is interesting. I want to see where does this break off? Where does this type of mm,
a scandal work.
mm,
It was in public. It was in public space, so I can make it use it an
mm,
example. Ochalgi
mm,
scandal ko wuok kamar jaluo mane owuok US to ja Homa Bay cha iluonge ni ng'a? I'm
mm,
forgetting his name.
mm,
Nyako masani ni kanisa mar gini. Is it scandal
mm,
aina? People are cheering ni chuo jomaricho,
mm,
moko bende wacho ni mon and all
mm,
that. Placards have been raised and NGOs
mm,
are on their toes,
mm,
taking sides, supporting
mm,
their own cause. Yeah, I'm just trying to link
So
it. Even what Magere.
yeah, but these stories are very short stories, but yeah, so
You
much
can
inside.
discuss just a small chapter, not even a whole chapter, can give a
Yes,
whole discussion for the whole time.
completely. Because the way they story, it's profound. Like that story is not so simple. I don't think
But
it's
that
also
that
quite
now
so
talks
simple.
to the core issue, Ramoth.
Mm, mm,
It talks to the core issue that books like Luanda Magere, we have read them and we read them very shallowly. We read them like storybooks. We didn't connect them with our lives today. We didn't go deep. We were not taught to go deep into them. So I think what we are doing now is actually even it's opening up us to understanding that it was not just a story about this stone that could be you could not spear, the spear would bend and all these things until you had to know his. So we are only interested in that heroic part of it where these enemies could spear him, but they couldn't make him fall down because he was a stone. I think that's all most of the young people who might have heard the stories of Luanda Magere. That's all they know, and even the older generation that read it as a storybook. I don't think they went deep the way we are going deep with it like now. Just a
I mean
comment.
another short example before we close. There's always this
Please.
thing in Luo story. There was Nentie Tigo and a spear that made the duo separate. And
Yes. Natomuonyo Tigo.
yes, and it's I don't know. Ikao the symbols and the ketogene in forms of it seems like cartoons. It seems like cartoons the way it's put. It seems like cartoons. But if you really look at it, just a spear. What does it mean in Luones? Because there are different types of spears. What did it mean? One. Two, the spear is the spear does not stand for the spear. The spear stands for a whole technological process of making the spear. And the Tigo stands for a whole technological process of making the Tigo. But the Tigo had colors and the colors meant specific things. It has
Mhm.
it has become very surface.
Mm.
Very surface. A bit very, very surface. Very surface. Um, Maybe next time we can go into Guinea. Uh, even it would be nice, Nyalo Bet Maber, if we go back to well, let me read you something about beads. Why you
Mhm.
understand from the Luo aspect of, especially the ones who are still up there, and it says amongst beads and colors as medicine, beads and colors as medicine.
Mm.
It says amongst children and women, especially old ladies, beads and colors are commonly used as medicine, which is effective against spiritual matters. It can protect against attacks from outside the human sphere. It can cure from existential diseases such as impurity, headache, swollen limbs. Twins and the child are born after okay. Twins and the child born after it are, for example, cured by a white bead. Important is not only the color but also the fact that the person, the head, the neck, the leg are surrounded by a ring of colors that keep the persons together and prevent foreign matters from entering. Certain beads are not important because of their color, but because they carry the spirit of a dead person. They are called Olao and bequeathed by an old person to a beloved heir in order to give him spiritual protection during his lifetime. Such beads are also the power to heal minor diseases, e.g., fever attacks. They are to be put into a gourd filled with water and left one night to contaminate the water. The next morning, the sick person can be washed with this special water and may thus get relief. Olaos are said to be effective only for women, not for men. White color cures from impurity, while red is believed to stop blood from running. It is therefore effective in the case of a headache. Even black and green colors can cure swollen limbs. For example, in the case of a snake bite, it is not always important that the color is on a bead. It can as well simply be a piece of cloth. Sometimes a simple string can be sufficient to tie a member of the body to thus keep it together. And this mine is a very short one, just about beads and colors in relation to medicine, not beads by themselves. So the reason why this is important. So my mean this cartoonish way of looking at Luo is they are discovering that smells, smells, colors affect the psychology of people.
Correct. A lot.
Whether they should go, whether they should stop, whether they should drive or not. That is only communicated by colors. The packaging on stuff. What does blue mean on a packaging and what does green mean on a packaging? Because every time meaning or green, you think of something as fresh, even if it is not fresh. So it is having a psychological mental effect on that. But if Kagi Uoyo, that our ancestors were using beads to the same effect, it seems like it's cartoonish. But if they're using colors right now on posters and stuff, then it is It is communication science.
Mm.
It is development. It is moving forward. So when the color was effective on the bead, it was nonsense. But when we put it now and make you think, okay, this is red because it is Christmas, and everything moves around that energy, and it is yellow because it is Easter, and everything moves around that energy in very big ways. Then that is development. That is modern. That is color theory and the understanding of colors. That is color theory. But when our ancestors were doing it with, with all these beads, you know, it was nonsense. Mm. So this is the cartoonish way we look at these things. Very cartoonish. Very cartoonish. I don't know. Akiakat cartoonish is the word, but there is this aspect of these things. So
No, it comes out clearly, especially when you say psychologically, because that's very true. Because colors shape emotions and decisions and even cultural identity, and sometimes even subconsciously. So
yeah, that is
colors they strongly influence mood and behavior and perception.
If you look at the story of the spear and the bead, we don't look at it like this. But
Mm.
it is about the colors and the effect it is having on the society. That's what they are really arguing about. It is just this is what made the sons of Ramogi separate and all these other simple stories. They really the story Miwa Chokanya for the nation. The story Miwa Chokanya, the real story Miwa Chokanya is not Okonere. It is not visible. And the spear, how it was being made, how the blacksmith was trained. There were like four. There were like around 6 to 7 different types of spears in Luo. There's not one spear. There's not one spear.
We remember even Luanda being given a golden spear.
Yes, yes. There's not one spear. So that is the interesting part about it. Yeah, George. Waweni, as we come to a close, little come on.
No, erokamano Ramoth. Erokamano. I think ni um, what is very key for me is the issue of trust. That's the word I'll have. The last bit that I just wanna mention as we finish today's reading and understanding where Luanda Magere's story is going, because I'm so interested into knowing what happens next, because trust is quite key in as much as it happened during that time, but in our society today, what do? We begin to suspect that even a figure like Luanda Magere either could be destroyed from within, or could even they had even a remote, the community, some of the community members had a remote thinking that he could have wanted to destroy himself. Who do we blame? That remains the question. But the trust, because this trust that we're talking about has been built over the years, and then it's cracking. And then we see Luanda Magere trying to rebuild it in the community, plus other warriors, not just Luanda Magere, and other elders. They believed him, even though he had to count what he had done before, so that that can be used as the basis of judging him. But we have to ask ourselves whether the trust you have is valuable, and also do you pair that you are the trust that you have on things and on people with wisdom, because This is for me, as Ouda. I can be very loyal. But my loyalty will never mean blindness. Never. So I look at the situation. I observe carefully. I observe your character and I protect my boundaries. That's key. So what am I saying? I'm saying that we must now teach Ramoth what we pick from Lwanda Magere, especially the trial, the betrayal, the trial, and now this thing of trying to rebuild the trust. Our young people must know that trust must be valuable. If your trust is not valuable, there is a problem. If your trust is not paired with wisdom, you run into trouble, because there can never be blind loyalty to a cause. Never have a blind loyalty to a cause. And I can tell you, Tuju is a perfect example. Tuju was loyal to a cause. And we've seen where being loyal to a cause, that the people who Tuju are loyal to knew the end of the story. It's only Tuju who didn't know, because he was too loyal and blind. That's the truth. Never trust anyone. Build trust carefully, observe their character, and protect your boundaries. I think that is the key thing. I'm yet to come to a total conclusion, because we are still reading Lwanda Magere's story. But the trust is key to the whole story. And so communities must avoid, many communities actually, they avoid discussing internal harm. Many families avoid discussing internal harm. I've personally dealt with a lot of rape cases that have happened in the families. And people are being told, hey, watie kurugini kidala. The child has been hurt, has been raped. But jomadongo wachoni, kiki wachno kikingere oko. You can't take it outside there. I've dealt with such. We must openly teach manipulation, how manipulation looks like, how peer pressure looks like, how false loyalty looks like, how emotional exploitation looks like to our young people. As we said, Lwanda Magere's story is not meant for the past. It is meant for the present. It is upon us, the current generation, to guard our purpose using the story, to test loyalty over time, to value our communities, Luo community. And we must heal without becoming hardened because of circumstances. We lose it. Nikwaramogi eruru kamano. The question mawe ugo kawuono, and how do we remain open-hearted enough to build community, yet wise enough not to be destroyed by misplaced trust? If you didn't hear anything or at all, if you're late, you didn't start the story from the end, beginning to the end, I leave with a compelling question for discussion. How do we remain open-hearted as Luo community? Open-hearted enough to build a community, yet wise enough not to be destroyed. Nikwara mugia juang ma winjowa kaka pile wagoyinu erokamano. Kaka pile wang'eyo ni for the last 2+ hours de utimo gimachielo, but you chose watimonu erokamano. Nikech bugni ok wasome kaka story kaka nosomnwago e skul ka watindo, to kaka osesomne nyithindwa tibro somne nyikwawa be. Nyaka wasome yo mopogore ka wapuonjrego ni to Lwanda Magere masani ento wagere nadi, en wamenta enadi. Nikech Lwanda Magere masani kaka wawachoga, onge lweny ma physical mwadhi ore. There is no physical war for the current Lwanda Magere to fight. So what are there are no spears and shields to give the current Lwanda Magere because there is no physical war. So the question is, how do we prepare him, the Lwanda Magere of today, for the war ahead of him, the economic war ahead of him, the psychological war ahead of him, the digital war ahead of him, this one that can create you, can bring you up very quickly and then take you down very easily. How do we, and what are the weapons we give the current Lwanda Magere? Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves. Ko kamano, madi Nyasaye umnwa kendo gwedhu. Nikech wabro romo kendo ka wadhi mbele gi uneno ka ok en book ma samoro waweye wadhi nyaka another book to connect with it. Ok en book mwasoma gi ng'wech ni for the sake of some kaka history. Wasome ka wapuonjre. To wageno ni nyithindo matindo vijana winjo ni nitie ng'at miluongo Lwanda, gini e Lwanda Magere masani. En mana ni kaka pogro koro nitie. Gin Lwanda Magere mokwa mi tong' gi kuot. Gin Lwanda Magere mokwa or ni dhi gore lweny mar physical. Wan kod gi udgi. Wal oro gi nang'o e piny. Ni gidhi gitim ang'o e piny. To wamigi weapons mage mwa oro gi go e piny ka mwa oro gi. Nyasaye otelnu. Wabro dhi mbele gi Lwanda Magere next week Thursday, same time. To nigatie button ka mar chat. Use the button mar chat. Ask questions. Communicate gimidwacho. Penj giminyalo penjo. Wanyalo duoko next week and all that. Even in the process of some story dhi mbele, if you want something mondo bed clarified, chat button. System watiyogo ni me chatting with us. To sabende waneno ka koro dhi ahinya. Ero kamano, Nyasaye otelnu. An aonge gi mang'eny madawach kuom bedo kod odiechieng' otieno ma kawuono. Nikech mana kaka wawacheno. Ok ochuno ni nyaka ubi ka, but udecide ubiro ka. Uloso kahawa, ubet piny, uwinjowa. Samoro uloro gik moko duto tetete ma uneno. Jomoko loro TV, jomoko timo ang'o ni udwa winjo ma. Dongo wamor jowadwa, wamor kodu. To cultural work journey ni ok wane kendwa. Un warriors, one together. Mana kaka winjo Brad Lwanda Magere ne warriors oriwore no. One together. Wadhi mbele. Ka wagero ogandawa. Erokamano, Nyasaye otelnu kendo gwedhu. Ramoth, erokamano kuom kawo ga thuolo mari. Wacho nega jogi. Jotwang' woche gi jothedh sende gi besende kawan kama. Wat kuong watimo kamano mondi gi Ramoth. Eno bende ogo mare. Ka watieke koro eka kendo wadonje ma. To watimo ma nikech hera ma wan go mar jowa mag Luo. Luo is our business. And we are open kaka Ramoth wache ka 24/7. Nyasaye otelnu. Ramoth, akia ni in gi wach mogik, an atieko.
Naonge, mana erokamano. Mana erokamano. Mano kende manyalo wacho. Erokamano.
In bende wagoni erokamano. Yeah.
Erokamano.
Waromuru about Lwanda Magere next Thursday. But ung'e ni wan gi other programs madhiga mbele. Monday, one called Proverbs. Luo Proverbs and wise sayings. Tuesdays, mano tung'eyo. Gem, jaduong' ananga. Wednesdays, depends. Wan bende wan ti samoro nyaka wago break kidogo. Thursday kaka kawuono. To kiny to wan to koro okaland. Erokamano, Nyasaye otelnu.
From Acholi to Langi, Malutu Madi, Iteso, Kumam, Karamoja, stand up. One people, one blood, one voice. Wicked on music, yo. Morning light, we rise with a mission. Voice is strong, carry one vision. A single stick breaks, but together we stand. Like a bundle of strength across the land. From the soil where our roots run deep, promises we make, promises we keep. Spider webs united can tie a lion down. So no more silence, let's wear the crown. Call your brother, call your sister near. Tell them the northern voice is here. No tribe, no border, no line to divide. We are one family, walking in pride. One voice, one north, Uganda we rise. Together we strong, together we wise. If we stand as one, nowhere we fall. Northern voice, Uganda, one love for all. Bring your sister, let the family grow. Like a river united, we overflow. From village to city, let the message run. Many hearts beating now as one. Big up to the fam, we see your fire. Lifting the vision higher and higher. Preaching the truth, bringing people in. That's how a great family begin. Little by little, the nest is built through love and effort, not by guilt. So carry the logo, carry the message. Let the world know everywhere you go. Let our identity show.
One bene ase,
We are one.
we one kicking. We are not alone.
Kawan Waribi,
Waribe,
One Wate.
bene ase,
We are one.
we one kicking.
Northern voice.
Not alone.
This is our song. From the north to the world we speak. For the strong, the silent, the weak. One mission, one vision, one destiny call. The northern voice, Uganda. Standing tall. Wikida don't say so. From the Pearl of Africa to the whole world online, Job with Professor Maros.